All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to one of Shippo's webinars geared towards helping e-commerce businesses prepare for the holiday season. Today, we're sharing spooky selling and shipping stories from other small and medium-sized businesses and how they navigated and overcame them to find success. It's my pleasure to introduce our experts on today's webinar. We have Jeff Stone, VP of Customer Success at Shippo. Jeff heads up our customer support and support engineering teams that help all of Shippo's customers succeed through shipping. Jeff is a tech veteran who previously led global customer teams at Eventbrite and Google. And Adam, one of our customer support reps at Shippo. Adam helps Shippo customers set up their accounts and navigate the world of shipping. He has been serving the tech industry for 5 years. Prior to tech, he supported wireless companies. He's worn many hats over the years, such as sales rep, manager, district manager, and professional services consultant. Here's a quick overview of what we're covering today. Before we dive into the agenda, we have a brief poll to help us better understand who's listening in and what your needs are. Please take a few seconds to answer these 2 questions. Great. I'm going to keep the poll open for a few more seconds, but we will continue with the agenda. So thanks so much for your participation. We're seeing many of you shipping less than 100 packages per month. The stories we'll share today are from larger sized businesses, but their noteworthy mistakes they shared happened when they were much smaller. So we think there are a lot of takeaways for you today. Taking a look at our agenda, we'll cover 3 scary selling stories from successful e-commerce businesses and Shippo customers, plus how they navigated these issues or the lessons they learned. We'll cover inventory stock shock, the wrong kind of holiday break, and lacking the perfect fit. Then we'll jump into Q&A with Jeff and Adam. Without further ado, I'll pass it over to Jeff to share the first lesson.
Thanks, Michelle. Our first spooky shipping story is ominously titled Inventory Stock Shock. And this scary story comes from Shippo customer Mr. Muffin's Trains. Mr. Muffin's Trains consistently ranks in the top 2% of high-performing Shopify stores. And as well, if you're ever in Indianapolis, you should head to Mr. Muffin's 15,000 square foot model train showroom just outside the semi-confusingly named city Atlanta, Indiana. It's one of the largest public layouts of model trains in the country. When we asked Mr. Muffin about a mistake he made, he said, "I've made the mistake of letting my own bias dictate the inventory we stock, which leads to overstocking and understocking since the decision is made without consulting data. This is a really common challenge for retailers, no matter how many years they've been in business. Choosing the right amount of inventory to stock is both an art and a science, and it does get easier with more historical data. And while no company is immune from potential over or understocking, we do have some tips for how to be strategic when choosing inventory levels. First, why does it matter if you over or understock your inventory? Well, if you order too much of a certain product and it sits on your shelves, you end up losing money on the product itself, storage for the product, and the shipping of that excess product. On the flip side, if you order too little and you sell out of the product quickly, you can miss out on additional revenue or potentially frustrate your customers. There we go. The cost of overstocking or understocking is that retailers lose out on more than $1 trillion globally due to overstocking or out of stocks. Let's look at some ways to mitigate this issue and stock inventory at the proper levels. As I mentioned, your own order data is the best source, but let's consider what you would do if you have no company data to leverage. You're brand new to business, or you're stocking a brand new, different product for the first time. A couple of good resources are the Google Trends tool and the Google Keyword Planner to gauge interest. These tools will show you how many people are searching for keywords related to your product so you can determine the potential demand. You can also look at how these keywords trend over time to help predict what interest will look like in the future. While you're in Google Keyword Planner, take a look at the costs for running product ads. This will reveal information about your competition, since higher ad costs typically mean more people are buying in that ad space. Another way to gauge demand is to set up a landing page for the product with a form to collect email addresses of interested consumers. You can also run a small pay-per-click ad campaign and send users to the page to ensure people can find it. You can also use this page to take pre-orders for your product, and that helps mitigate upfront costs as well. As you're figuring out how much inventory to stock, cost plays a big factor. If it doesn't cost you much to store and promote a product, then there's less risk involved with over-ordering. List out the potential costs and profit associated with each of your items. Consider things like seasonality, storage, fulfillment, even the cost of marketing or promotions. Once you determine the cost and potential profit, you can better understand the risk you'll be taking on by having extra inventory on hand. If you opt for a more conservative level of inventory, be prepared for when you run out of stock. This is where inventory management software can come in. That software can allow you to implement reorder points for different items. These are the minimum amounts of an item you want to stock. Once your inventory falls below that level, your software will trigger an action to replenish that stock. Finally, once you do have inventory data, make sure you use that to inform your future decisions on how much you wish to stock. Another useful exercise is to compare your inventory turnover ratio to industry averages. Your inventory turnover ratio is the number of times you sell and replace your stock during a given period. This is calculated by totaling up your cost of goods sold and dividing that by the average inventory for the same period. Typically, a low ratio means your products are turning over less often, which might suggest you're overstocking, while a higher ratio means you're cycling through your inventory more often and maybe understocking. Most importantly, make sure your inventory turnover ratio aligns with the standards of your industry. The chart on this slide is from CSI Market. This is a great website to look up and understand industry data for your particular industry. Now I'm going to pass it over to Adam to share the next spooky story.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. So our next scary story is about the wrong kind of holiday break. It comes from Matthew Burke. He's one of the co-founders of the coffee subscription company Beanbox. Beanbox was founded back in 2014 and ships tens of thousands of packages a month during their busy season. Matthew's most memorable mistake was having a slow, clunky process that didn't support his business as they scaled. During their first holiday season a few years back, they were also selling on Amazon, but their order fulfillment workflow was not optimized, and it got to the point where they couldn't keep up with the demand they were seeing, so they had to shut off their Amazon store. Matthew's biggest regret, in addition to losing revenue that season, is that they also lost the potential lifetime revenue of the customers they had to turn away. This is more common than you might think. Whether it's a unique use case or a specific type of order, most businesses have at least one process they wish was more streamlined. When business is slow, it's more of a nuisance than anything else because there's still enough time of the day to keep up with your orders. If you let the issue fester, there will likely come a time where you have too many orders and not enough time or resources to deal with the issue. Then you'll likely lose revenue and upset your customers and employees. This is something everyone wants to avoid. So how do you avoid it? You can empower your employees on the front lines to help identify and solve your issues. You want to have a system in place where employees can flag issues in real time so that nothing falls through the cracks. You'll also want to know what is taking them a lot of time to complete. Basically, you want to take a look at what's not scalable. The next step is do your research. If something isn't working, you can ask customer support, fellow industry pros, and look in online forums. Support teams are here to help you not only fix issues, but also optimize your experience. One way to make sure your business is prepared to scale is to set up automations. This helps make sure you can fulfill more orders in the same amount of time. There are automated tools for just about every aspect of your business. Our team has put together a handy resource of different automations and softwares that you can consider, and we'll email you guys a copy of the blog post after the call. Here are a few examples from that chart. You can use Shopify or BigCommerce to set up an online store, then integrate with a payment gateway like Stripe or PayPal. You can streamline things even more by implementing an accounting software like QuickBooks and a shipping platform like Shippo. And one last thing on this topic, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. If something is working, there's no need to stress over improvement and risk making a mess. Especially as you're heading into the holidays, you want to limit the amount of tweaks you make to workflows. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to you, Jeff.
Thanks very much, Adam. Our final story for today is about lacking the perfect fit. This story comes from dancewear company Lucky Leo. Lucky Leo is a fast-growing e-commerce store that just recently reached 70,000 followers on Instagram and is built on Shopify. Their biggest learning lesson for the Lucky Leo team came when they realized that their initial product idea, bridal gowns, did not take full advantage of the co-founder's skill set. Plus, it wasn't scalable for them, and it generally didn't feel like the right fit. This can be a common challenge for many entrepreneurs trying to find their niche. There are many reasons the business isn't clicking, whether it's because it's not the right fit for you as the business owner, or it's not the right fit for consumers. The learning lesson here is you have to be willing to pivot the focus of your business if need be. So how do you know when you should put your head down and stay on course, and when you should try something else? Ultimately, this decision is up to you. There are plenty of successful business owners out there that credit their success to years of hard work and grit, and others built booming businesses without experiencing much friction. You'll need to decide for yourself if the friction or challenges you're dealing with are insurmountable or if they're just a bump on your road to success. Here are a few questions to ask yourself as you're considering your own situation. First and foremost, do you have customers, and is that base of customers growing? Are your customers happy? Are you able to build brand loyalty with customers and your target audience? If you don't have customers or you're not growing, you may want to consider pivoting to another idea. The next question is whether your heart is in it. Are you still passionate about the business or the problem you're trying to solve? Is the business taking a toll on you emotionally? Your well-being is important, and it's up to you to determine if your business model works for you. Finally, it's the financial realities of your business that may require a change. If your current revenues and expenses aren't viable long-term, a new model may be in order. I love this quote from Shippo's co-founder, Laura Behrens-Wu. It relates to the challenge Lucky Leo experienced. According to Laura, the most important decision a founder can make is the decision to get started. Have the understanding and expectation that you may switch to tackling a new product or a new problem. Eventually, you'll find the right problem or product that fits your unique skill set. And with that, we conclude our scary stories. I'm going to pass it back to Michelle to wrap up our learnings and jump into our Q&A.
Thanks, Jeff. We're about to start our Q&A. If you do have a question, please enter it on the Q&A tab. Before we get started, though, let's quickly recap our key takeaways. The most important decision to make as an entrepreneur is the choice to get started, if you haven't already. From there, be open to pivoting if your current project doesn't feel like a fit. As you start to plan your inventory, aim to avoid over or under stocking, making sure you're doing your research or leveraging data to help determine the right inventory levels. Finally, fix any issues well before peak season to ensure a seamless process when it's mission critical. Now, let's open it up for Q&A. Again, if you have a question, please enter it on the Q&A tab. We're already starting to see questions rolling in, so let's get started. The first one, there's limited time left before Black Friday and Cyber Monday. What do you recommend I focus on? Should I try fixing broken things now? And Jeff, I'm going to pass this one to you.
Well, that's a great question. Let's see, we've got 25 days until Black Friday, if you count today. It's not a whole lot of time. I would say this week, maybe next week, are the last times I would try to change anything about your e-commerce stack or a process that you have. But really, though, it also depends on the stage of your business, right? If you're just starting out, you might have that flexibility to put a new process in place. Getting automations in place before the holidays, that's really important and going to help you have a scalable holiday season. If your business is more mature, though, and you have multiple employees, any changes you make, that will impact that broader team as well, and it opens the door for human error. As I think about it, we actually put together a really great holiday selling checklist. It runs through what to do each month through the end of the year. I think the November to-dos are launching your holiday ads, preparing your shipping, and increasing your customer support. Michelle, can we send that link out after the call?
Yes, absolutely. We'll send that over in an email.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. The next question. I've heard a lot of stories about businesses running into problems during the holidays. How can I make sure my business survives the holidays scot-free? Jeff, I'm going to give this one back to you.
Thank you. That's another great question. Yeah, so the holiday season can definitely put a lot of stress on your operation for smaller businesses. So first off, it's great that you're on the call and you're learning from others that are in a similar sort of space as your own business. One thing I do as the support manager here at Shippo is really know our workflows front to back and make sure that our response plan for each and every issue that can crop up is as tight as I can make it. Then on top of those typical workflows, I also make sure that my team's prepared with an emergency guide so they're prepared as possible should anything drastic happen. So, we all hope that things run smoothly and there are no, you never have to refer to that emergency manual, but you have to expect the unexpected. Another thing is to be really realistic. Be realistic about the things you can take on during the holidays. Be realistic about your goals and projections for the season. You want to make sure that you're not, stretching yourself too thin or having too high of expectations.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. And I'm seeing a lot of great questions coming in. We'll try our best to answer as many as we can. So we'll go on to the next question. What is Shippo doing to help me prepare for the holiday season? Adam, I'm going to give this one over to you.
Hey, sure. Thanks, Michelle. So yeah, I think we've already covered a lot of good holiday tips today on the call. I think one good takeaway is just to keep a close eye on inventory and use automations to make fulfillment more manageable for your business. I would also consider doing a test run for any new workflows that you're considering. You'll probably learn a lot during that first run with a new workflow. So it's a good idea to make sure you've done something at least once before giving it a go, especially during the holiday season.
That's great, Adam. This is Jeff. One thing I'd also add a few other points. Something we've been doing here at Shippo is making sure that the updates we're making to our app are really going to help all of our customers handle the additional volume during this holiday season. So, for example, we recently just updated our batch processing feature, where you're processing more orders or shipping labels at once to be more robust, be faster, things like that. It's also a lot more reliable than it was in the past. Something else actually that our marketing team, including Michelle here, have put together some great how-to videos, and we've posted those to our help center and to our YouTube channel, I believe.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next question, I think both of you can answer. It is, I'd love to know more about shipping, all of the things that cause rates to go up and down, best shippers for small businesses, not getting the quote corporate discount, etc. Jeff, do you want to start? And then Adam, if you have anything to add, you can jump in.
Sure. So rates change at a number of different times. So the carrier themselves can make changes to the shipping rates for different packages of different sizes, weights, and then origin and destination. Typically, they do that in a very organized cadence, though, and that comes with communication to their customers, and including platforms like Shippo, which we then pass along to our end customers. I wouldn't expect too much rate fluctuation in the day-to-day, especially if you're shipping a package of the same weight and dimensions, from the same origin and same destination. Those should stay pretty steady. And if there's ever any question about shipping rates, for your own account, I would say feel free to reach out to my team at support@goshippo.com, and we'd be happy to take a look and ensure that you're getting the very best rates that we can pass along.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Switching gears a little bit, we have a question on one of the stories we shared. Why do some industries have higher turnover ratios than others? And Jeff, since you shared this story, I'm going to pass it to you.
Sure. That's another great question. So there are a lot of different factors that can come into play with that turnover ratio. For example, a store could have a high turnover ratio if their capital for stock is lower, which necessitates that they keep their stock, pretty lean. Or it can be high because the product is in super high constant demand, like a grocery store. Other industries have lower turnover rates because they're just able to keep more items on hand. For example, the stock might be actually really cheap, or it might be very small, or it's really durable and it doesn't expire, or it's sort of always in demand. Businesses with items like that can get a lot of stock at once and avoid that reordering for quite a while.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. We have a couple more questions related to ordering inventory. I'm going to combine a couple of these into one. So one of the questions is, what's the best way to predict exactly what products to stock enough of for the holidays? And is it better to overstock or understock inventory? Jeff, back to you.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of questions about inventory, and it makes a lot of sense. It's this is a make or break season for a lot of businesses. So referring back to the initial part of the question of how do you predict, if you were in business last year or the year before, I think comparing your actual shipping and order data is the best source of data for you. And that can tell you a lot about how product demand is shifting over time, either growing or declining, especially if you're stocking the same products. If you're stocking all unique products, that gets a little harder. At that point, though, there are external sources of data which can help. We referred to a couple earlier in our presentation. So the Google Keyword Tool and the Keyword Planning Tool, Google Trends and the Keyword Planning Tool, and that can tell you what people are searching for, and that can you can extrapolate from there if there's a lot of demand. Something else that comes to mind is, especially if you're active on social media, how are your buyers or prospective buyers engaging with that content? If you have a great visual design, or the items you're selling do have that real visual appeal, Instagram is a great place for that, and see if that's garnering a lot of likes. Otherwise, products on Facebook or Twitter, if people are engaging with your business there, that can give you a lot of insight as well. And you can do a lot of creative things like taking polls and things like that to see what your prospective buyers are saying.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. We have time for one more question. I'm going to try to combine two again. So the question is, whom shall I contact to inquire about available Shippo services for our marketplace? And how long does it take to fully integrate Shippo? Will training be provided? Adam, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure, Michelle. So you can contact our support team, support@goshippo.com, about all the available services. We can answer your specific questions about your marketplace and getting everything set up to allow Shippo to power your shipping on your marketplace platform. How long does it take to fully integrate? That's that's a little bit tricky because we have customers who use the dashboard with, say, a store platform like Shopify. We see them get set up within an hour and they're good to go. They sometimes don't even reach out to us over here in support because they've checked shipping prices and these things. So they get going really quickly. And then we see API customers too, who kind of know exactly how they want to model their shipping, implement very quickly within a day or two, I would say. Now, if you want to do a more custom integration of our API on, for example, your marketplace, and you have like some very specific business principles you want to stick with for your shipping, then it may take a little bit more time because maybe you'll need to email us over here in support. We'll need to like walk you through, what we've seen other customers do and, if they've been successful or not. But I would say it's not a long turnaround to get Shippo set up in general. Yeah. So, and you can always feel free to reach out to our support team, and we're always happy to help. And another great resource that we're noticing more and more customers going to is our help center, which, Michelle, if that's okay, can we send them a link to the help center, the main landing page at the end of the call?
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. So that concludes our webinar today. I know we didn't get to all of your questions, so if you'd still like information, please reach out to support@goshippo.com and we'll answer everything there. We did have one final poll, so before you go, if you could please provide feedback for this webinar in our 2-question poll, we would very much appreciate it. And any questions, please reach out at the email addresses below. Thank you.